National Ice Cream Month, and Blue Bell Creameries is celebrating with their newest flavor, cookies and cream cheesecake. The former CEO and president shares the history of this Texas tale and how they became the cream of the crop. Great Day is ready to churn right now.
Your city, your stories. Celebrating the people and places that make Houston shine. It's Great Day Houston. And now, here's your host, Deborah Duncan.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. Thank you very much. Okay, so our live studio audience this morning is from the nonprofit group Safe Diversity Communities. Later in the show, we'll share their message of how cream rises to the top when you help people to achieve their best. All right, so we're starting with some scoop on a delicious part of Texas history. In 1907, the Brenham Creamery Company made butter from excess cream provided from local farmers. A few years later, they started making ice cream delivered by a horse and wagon. In 1930, they changed their name to Blue Bell Creameries, going from making a couple of gallons a day to millions of gallons sold in 23 states. Generations of Americans grew up eating the best ice cream in the country, made with fresh milk coming from happy cows, and even one that sings.
Everyone agreed Belle's singing was superb, and her milk was divine. And to this day, there's a little bell in every bite of Blue Bell ice cream.
It's all made, homemade down home. Blue Bell, the best ice cream in the country.
Blue Bell, the best ice cream in the country.
Oh, a little trivia story about that last lady who sang. But anyway, the former CEO and president of Blue Bell Creameries, Ricky Dickson, is the author of One Scoop at a Time, a new book celebrating the company's sweet success and even times when they had to cry over spilled milk. Good morning, Ricky.
Good morning.
All right. So
I love that.
a lot of us remember that commercial and that jingle, Blue Bell, the best ice cream in the country, and the woman standing behind the cow. There's a reason why she wasn't out in front of the cow.
That's exactly right. From what I understand, she was close to delivering one of her children, and so it was just a great place to put her, just in case when she hit the high note that we didn't have to run in and take care of the delivery. It's more than a milk delivery, right? A child delivery.
All right. Ricky, you grew up in San Antonio, and your family kind of gravitated toward cake and pies as dessert. Ice cream was kind of like, you say, like a topping, like for a lot of us at the time.
That's right. Every now and then, way back, Mom would pull out the old ice cream maker, and then we would take turns doing the cranking, and which would make us obviously very cranky.
Yeah.
And so thank goodness Blue Bell came along and took the ice cream freezer, and we put it back in the closet.
Yeah, right.
I don't think we've taken it out since.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it kind of started for you, this journey, with a college assignment. You went off to Baylor University in the late 70s, marketing and business journalism major. What was that assignment?
Basically was to follow a company for a full semester, write a term paper, which would pretty much be your grade for the whole semester. And so obviously it sounded pretty intriguing, but at the same time intimidating. Went back to my apartment.
Yeah, intimidating because I'm going to let the young people in the audience know there was not a thing called Google at the time. Yeah. You had to do everything yourself. And when you got on a phone, you had to as a phone attached to a wall, right?
That's right. That's
make
right.
phone calls.
And a thing called a typewriter.
Oh,
you had to put the paper in, and you didn't want to hit the wrong key because then you had to get the little white out. But I know that's another day for another story.
And when you had too many whiteouts, you started all over again.
That's right. That's right. But I called my dad, and he actually was reading an article about this little ice cream company down in Brenham, Texas. He said, "Let me start the article over." And so he read it to me, and I thought, wow, who doesn't like ice cream?
Yeah.
So I called down and got an interview with the vice president at the time, and I was just so taken by what I saw. I thought, when it comes time, I'm going to come down here and interview. I didn't have a clue what I'd interview for, but I mean, again, it's ice cream.
There are a lot of lessons in your book, and that's why I suggest, so many people at different stages in their life read it. And one of them is the fact that you picked up the phone and you called. A lot of times people will say, well, I probably won't get an interview, or I won't get one, certainly with the vice president of the company. And then when you were there, during the interview, Ed Cruz joined, and that was the Cruz family that had bought Blue Bell way back in the early 1900s, right?
Yes. E.F. Cruz took over in 1919, and then Ed and Howard, the two young sons, took over in 1951. And so it was Ed Cruzy that happened to be walking by, walked in and said, well, who's this guy? You know, and so he was an Aggie, I was a Baylor Bear, and that right there immediately created a great conversation.
Yeah, because if you had gone to UT or Longhorn,
we probably would have never had the interview.
We would have never called you back.
Right.
But it's the importance of maintaining good relationships and making good impressions too, because you obviously made a good impression.
Well.
All right, your first taste of Blue Bell ice cream. During the interview, you didn't get to taste it, and they weren't selling it in Waco.
That's correct.
But you decided to take an adventure.
Well, I thought if I'm going to write on this company, I need to do some deep research, meaning I need to go find some ice cream. So a friend and I, we got in the car, we drove down to Temple, where we could find Blue Bell, found a half gallon of strawberry in cream, got back in the car, popped the lid off, grabbed 2 spoons, and before we made it back into Waco, that half gallon was gone.
Of course it was,
Absolutely
But you had a
gone.
flashback to the time when your mom would hand crank it.
Definitely.
All right, that was the beginning of this 43-year career. Your senior year, you reached out to them for a job interview, and of course, your fingers crossed. A lot of us know what that's like when when your parents are about to cut you off. Right? It's like you're done with college, get out into the real world.
Yes.
Made a phone call and got a surprise.
Yes, they said, "Come, can you be here tomorrow? We're ready to interview." And I thought, "Wow, this is fantastic." Went down, interviewed, and then about a month later, they called back and said, "We have a position waiting for you when you cross that stage." And so I mean, anything going into your final semester of college, knowing you already have a career path when you come out the other side, was a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's a weight lifted for sure.
Absolutely. So it was a.
You did many jobs. You moved up the food chain in various positions. Did you have any idea at that time, when you were moving up, that you could march toward that position called CEO?
Great question. And honestly, with the Cruzy family running the company for so long, I don't think in my even wildest dreams that there would be the opportunity to take that position of CEO. Yeah. You aspire, but I will also say through my journey, I really had to depend upon God and what God was doing in my life, and making sure that I was lined up where He would want me to be, and in that whatever that position is. Yeah. And so when that opportunity came, the day they said, "We'd like for you to be CEO," I knew that was a God thing, because I knew my abilities, but at the same time, I was honored that they would reach out and ask for that, but at the same time, it threw me on my knees.
Talk a little bit about your work ethic, because I remember I had an intern walk in my office one day and she goes, "You're so lucky you got this job." And I said, let me correct you for a minute here. Yes. There were times when, and I've shared this story many times, when I had my first job in the business and when I first was anchoring news, I didn't make any money hardly at all, and I would clean apartments to get them ready for rent before I would go in and anchor the morning news. And then people would recognize me with my mop and broom and stuff and go, "You look like that girl." I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm her sister." Right? But it was the willingness to do what you needed to do, but when you showed up at work, you showed up ready to work. You had a work ethic, clearly.
That's right. And I think the beauty of that is the company itself had that same work ethic. The people that not only worked on the production floor, we had packagers that had been packaging for 25 and 30 years in a very repetitive type of position. But you just gravitated to the culture, because really what they were doing is making magic. They were making memories. Yeah. And they understood that. And so it was really easy to jump right in, and really positions don't matter. Yeah. It's do what it takes to get the job done. And so that's what we did collectively.
And then, of course, that magic was spreading across the country. Both President both the George Bushes and Barbara, they had the ice cream shipped to the White House and to Kennebunkport, Maine. Yes. You have milk from 60,000 cows a day.
They're poop but proud, because we definitely we rely on them on a daily basis. And you mentioned the presidents. My wife and I were actually able to hand deliver ice cream to Kennebunkport, and got to spend some time with both the president and the first lady. And what an experience! I have a whole chapter in the book.
Look, you can show up to anybody's house if you're bringing ice cream, right?
True.
You can produce 100 pints a minute. Milk is so fresh, it was grass yesterday, is one of the phrases that would say. And it's been eaten on the International Space Station. You've even done a collaboration with James Avery, another Texas company, right? Where there's like a Blue Bell ice cream carton charm. All right, the decision to retire. For some people that's really easy. It's like, I'm done. For others, it's like, am I really done here?
Oh, I tell you what, one of the toughest decisions, to be honest, mainly because, again, I go back to my faith and my walk with my Savior. I knew when I took the position that really this was a God thing. This was God putting me there, and I didn't want to walk away from that until I knew that He was saying, okay, it's time to walk away from that. And so I went through, it took about a 2-year process to really, weigh all that out, but did get that peace because I'm still at I'm 65, and even though I'm 65, I like to say I'm going to refire instead of retire.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get back out, and since this is what really prompted the book.
Because I always say retire doesn't mean expire, right?
That's right.
There's more to do.
I sure hope not.
You kind of say you went out kind of how you came in. You came in with the paper. You're going out with a book.
That's right.
So that book, one scoop at a time. It talks about the history of Blue Bell and a lot of the things you went through from the inside that a lot of us might not realize. People think you're the CEO. Oh, you're making great money and you're at the top and it's such an easy job. But being CEO at Blue Bell was not all cookies and cream.
That's right.
You can laugh at that. That was good. You know it was good.
Yeah, well, I would say that, there were a few rocky road days.
Yes, okay, you took my other one.
And we did jump right over the Great Divide to...
But, explain what CEO means. There's a lot in your shoulders.
Yes, I think that the magnitude of when you know that what decisions you now make are going to affect not just the employees' lives, but the consumers' lives. And that's, with ice cream, it is magical. You are making memories, and when I read the letters from consumers on the impact that it has on them, you really want to hit every day. What I recognize is every day is critical, and you want to hit every day the very best you can.
Sometimes things come at you by surprise, and
that's right.
One particular thing had you saying, "Oh fudge," and that was managing the listeria crisis.
Well, I was at that time vice president of sales, but the beauty of that was, at times like that, and it was devastating. There's no question. But to watch the employees in the company come together and say, we're going to get this, we're going to do it right. And we've taken the level of everything that we do to really a whole new level, ripping up the floors, the walls, and bringing in microbiologists.
Well, you owned it. That was the deal. You owned it.
Absolutely.
Right?
You have to. You have to be transparent and own it. And boy, we're so excited where we are today.
Yeah.
It's the safest as anything I can think you can eat.
One of the biggest lessons I learned is sometimes that, life is not supposed to be perfect, but when you have tough times, you have to ask yourself, am I learning a lesson? Am I teaching a lesson? Or is it both?
Right.
And, it was both, and it took you to a higher level. And you say you learned to operate, as it sounds like this has always been a part of your life, turning fear into faith, or not letting fear, dictate your faith. The best part of working at Blue Bell is what?
Oh, wow. The best part is the magic of the product and again, the stories that come from behind it. I absolutely love the testimonials that come. There's 2 or 3 chapters, in fact, that talk about one particular of a lady that's getting ready to pass away and the impact that she had with Blue Bell and just in her life and what it meant. And so you really have to look beyond it being just ice cream.
Yeah.
It's something that is really touching lives. It can make a really bad day better.
Yeah.
And it can make a really good day better.
Yeah.
So you got both ends of it.
And you have, you also talk about the people that you were, and you touched on that, the people that you worked with. Several years ago, I did a series called "You Do What for a Living." It's all the jobs that you don't think of, right? And one of them was the taster, the head taster for Blue Bell. Who knew that was? I would have majored in head tasting if I knew that was a job.
Absolutely.
But she was so cool, and make no mistake about it, she's a scientist. She's a PhD, and so she was taking everything seriously. She put it in her mouth. She goes, "Now roll it around." Are those two things going together? I go, well, not really. She goes, that's why it's not a flavor, right? but there are seriously, you have to look at all kinds of things, like does it freeze well? Does it go with the cream part of it? What happens when you scoop it out? All types of things.
No, it is really, truly creating magic. And I like to compare it to the keys on a piano. Yeah. You can try it whole different ways, but when you hit that song just exactly, you go, oh man, I got a winner. And it's the same with ice cream. When you hit that flavor and you go, oh my, this one's a winner.
It even makes cow sing.
It makes cow sing.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Let me wrap up with your favorite flavor. We did this in the office, and it was like rapid fire. What's your favorite flavor? Mine's Thin Mint.
Homemade vanilla at the top, and right now today it's salted caramel brownie.
Oh, but you can't get that all the time.
It's not out all the time, so when it's there, you grab it. And when my wife and I shop, and when we see it, we just load up the basket. We know that, okay, this could be a seasonal.
Can't you just call somebody?
Yeah, they don't answer. They quit answering.
They say stop it. He's retired. Don't answer his phone. phone call.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you so much for
thank
coming in
you.
this morning.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for writing this book. I love that it's a Texas tale, but there are so
Absolutely.
many tales in it, and it just really can touch anybody.
Well, thank you. And really, it is really truly lessons from fear to faith,
Yeah.
and that there is hope, and that there's a roadmap to be able to get to that spot. And Amazon is waiting for you right now.
Yeah,
in
right.
fact.
Yes, it is. Okay, my son's in college. I'm gonna tell him, look, you need to go write a paper on Blue Bell. Let's see if you can
There
get a
we
career
go.
there. All right.
Absolutely.
One Scoop at a Time is available wherever books are sold. It is a great book teaching great lessons about life, and sometimes it's a rocky road, as we mentioned, but without challenges, we don't grow, and life is just plain vanilla. If you want a signed copy of Ricky's book and want to take a quick trip to Cow Country, he's heading to the Blue Bell headquarters country store in Brenham. He'll sign books today from 1:30 to 3:30 and tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'll also get to try Blue Bell's newest flavor for National Ice Cream Month, the cookies and cream cheesecake. And when you go up there, it's such a great drive to begin with, but going to the store is awesome. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.